Hey folks, how's everybody doing out there? Hey guys, can you hear me? I hope so. How's everybody doing out there? My name is Mark. This is Why I Hate the World. What's happening? So, got a lot going on this week. And if there's some weirdness going on with my audio, please let me know. I think I got all my audio issues fixed. But if it's not fixed, if you can't hear anything or whatever, then yeah, please let me know. All right. I mean, because it looks like it looks like the audio is good. In fact, you know what? Just to be safe, I'm going to get my phone and just dial into the channel and see if I can hear myself. One of these days I'll get this kind of thing down without having to go through all of this. That's okay. Let's see, where do I find my own oh yeah, your channel, and then hey, there's me streaming. And can I hear myself? Yes. Okay. Cool. Thank you for waiting there. We're all good. So, lots and lots of really crazy things happening out there in the world, but we're gonna focus on basically the threats of violence from, well, we're gonna start off with the threats of violence from the conservatives and the Maga people and all that, because if you haven't heard, Donald Trump has lost the election again for the 8th time. Right? Now, what do I mean by that? Well, there was a couple of lawsuits, one that was from Pennsylvania and then another from the, I think, Attorney General in Texas, and that was the big one. So last week, this one for trying to invalidate all the votes in Pennsylvania, that goes through and that gets knocked down, and the Supreme Court doesn't even bother to pick that up. Basically said, no, we're not going to be privy to your shenanigans here. And then the Attorney General of Texas tried to, basically invalidate the election in 4 states, right? And this was the really huge lawsuit, so whenever, you heard, the QAnon people and Trump's legal team and all that talking about releasing the Kraken. I'm sure you've probably heard that, that embarrassing shit over the last week or so. This was the Kraken, right? And the thing about it, so what it was that it was a lawsuit brought by the Attorney General of Texas, and the idea was that, according to this guy, right, that laws that were enacted in all of these other states that Trump won, which included, basically the 4 states that Biden won, the 4 states that allowed him to win, which was Pennsylvania, Michigan, and then, God, what was it, Arizona, and then one other one, I had Georgia, I think, right? Those 3, basically saying that the idea behind this lawsuit was that, well, those states enacted rule changes and laws to their election process, which allowed people to vote safely during the pandemic, right? And because of those rule changes and accommodations that were made in order to let people vote safely, that somehow changed it and allowed Joe Biden to get more votes and disproportionately helped Democrats, right? And the thing is, so this was kind of a big deal for the last week here. Pretty much everybody and their grandma knew that this was bullshit, and that there was no possible way that, even if the Supreme Court decided to pick this up, there was no possible way in hell that they would decide for this. But, were you worried? Well, I'm sure most people out there weren't, but I don't know. I was. There was a little bit, a little tinge in the back of my head here, because it's not like the Supreme Court hasn't decided an election before. I mean, the very last Republican president before this, right, was decided by the Supreme Court. So it's like, okay, and just because, you think there's no legal standing, just because you think it's like, ridiculous and has no fucking basis in reality or whatever, do you trust Republicans to believe the same thing? Do you trust even those on the Supreme Court? Do you trust them to do the right thing? I don't. See, here's the thing, right? So in the Pennsylvania lawsuit, right, the 4 conservative justices objected to this. But what they basically said in their briefs was that, well, you need to bring this up before the election. That was essentially, to sum up what, Thomas and Alito said, right? They basically said you have to disenfranchise people from voting before the election, not afterwards, right? And that was what they, their response to that. And then they said, next time, bring it before the election, and then, we'll help you steal it beforehand, but not after people already vote, right? And it's like, you got to remember that what was that guy, Gorsuch, and Kavanaugh, that guy, Kavanaugh and Amy Coney Barrett, they were part of the legal team that stole the election for Bush in 2000 in Florida. That's kind of crazy, right? Trump basically flat out admitted that he got Amy Coney Barrett on the Supreme Court specifically for this reason, so that, when the election came up, she would decide in his favor, right? He's essentially admitted that in so many words, I mean, that's kind of the reason why they pushed it through, 3 days before the election. She was like, confirmed, right? They just ramrodded that through, whereas, like, I mean, I'm sure you all remember, Barack Obama's pick for the Supreme Court got held up for fucking more than a year, right? So it's like, no, we all knew that this was the plan. This was the plan in the beginning, was to take it to the Supreme Court so that the Supreme Court could steal it for Trump, right? So, audio fine. Oh, great. Thank you. Yeah, Pennsylvania, Michigan, Wisconsin, and Georgia. Thank you so much, Dynacat. Thanks for joining, by the way. Right. So yeah, I mean, even though, the legal reasoning behind this lawsuit was complete and total, utter bullshit of the highest degree, right? Does that mean that, fucking cars, does that mean that, they wouldn't have just stolen it for him anyway? I don't know. I admit that I was a little worried there. So it's kind of cool to see that didn't happen, right? Well, now people are essentially flipping out, over this. But, I mean, and you also got to remember, before we move on, it wasn't just the Trump team that signed on. It was essentially the entire Republican establishment. 17 different states also signed on to this. What it is you file an I think they call it an amicus brief, like you're a friend of the court or whatever, right? And what that basically means is, like, it's kind of like saying, me too, if I have that right. I could be wrong about that, but I think it's basically saying, like, I have an interest in this as well, so sign me up on, right, amicus brief. So they basically, 17 different states signed on to it. 106 Republican House members also signed on to it, right? We even got things like fake states, like fucking New California, right? New California, which is like a separatist movement and shit. They fucking signed on to it. So it's like, it's not like, it didn't have mainstream backing from the Republicans, okay? Even if they all knew that it was horseshit and that it was a long shot and there was no fucking way it was going to happen, I think they were, I think Donald Trump at least was expecting this to actually go in his favor. And now it didn't happen, right? And I'm glad to see that the Supreme Court is not as corrupt as I thought it was. I'm happy to see that. I'm happy to see that even, the people that Trump ran through there on purpose, specifically for this reason, still had, still had some integrity and weren't willing to, like, you know, basically put party over country in this case. And that's kind of good to know. It's kind of good to know that, you know, when the chips are down, at least in this case, and at this time, everything worked out fine. But that doesn't mean that it won't work out fine next time. And that doesn't mean that, you know, we can all just sort of rest now and like it's over, because it's not over. It's still not going to be over even after Joe Biden takes office. It's not going to be over, you know. I mean, now it's just going to move into, like, you know, I mean, well, the election is finally over, right? But the fight against extremism, the fight against fascism, you know, that's never over, you know. And we can't fool ourselves into thinking that we won. It's like, no, this is just you know, we won the battle, but we didn't win the war, right? And they'll fucking be back. They'll be back next time, and whoever's going to run, whether it's in 2024, whether it's Donald Trump again, whether it's fucking, like, you know, Ted Cruz, you know, if he tries to fucking, like, slime his way into the nomination again, or even somebody like fucking Tucker Carlson. Even if it's one of those dudes, they're basically going to pick up and use this infrastructure of, you know, of radical right-wing craziness, right, in order to basically fucking steal the country. Right? So it's like, no, you can't give up, man. There is no, you know, we'll never be able to stick a fork in it and say we're done. The country is now safe. The country will never be safe. So anyway, I don't know. Some other funny shit about this. The lawyer that, you know, signed up Trump to this lawsuit, his name is John Eastman. He, you know, just to kind of show you that the apple doesn't fall so far away from the tree, he created an op-ed for Forbes, where he argued that Kamala Harris is not a U.S. citizen. That's true shit. So, Anna Chavez, thank you for joining. How you doing? Yeah, so let me turn on my monitor here. And here we go. This is Trump's new lawyer has promoted birther conspiracy theories about Kamala Harris. This is true shit here. Oh, wait a minute. Let me, wrong one. Let me just kind of make that a little bigger if I can. There we go. So it kind of shows you, you know, this is the guy here. I thought they had a picture of him, but anyway, I'll put the link to this in here if you want to read it. You know, essentially the same sort of shit, kind of going over who this lawyer guy was, and you know, and all that stuff. And you know, it just shows you that they don't have very much on the shelf there. That's the thing I was just looking at. It's in the chat. You know, it's the same tricks, the same tricks that, you know, the racism, you know, appealing to the worst in their base, right? That's what I mean when I say that it's not going to end. It's like it's just going to roll right over, and now all of a sudden, you know, Joe Biden and especially Kamala Harris are going to be the targets of this fascist, racist hate and obstructionism, and they're going to justify, you know, obstructing Joe Biden the same way that they obstructed Obama. They're going to justify it on the fact that on these ridiculous conspiracy theories, you know, which he's not, you know, what did they say? Because that's, you know, for 8 years of Obama, that's what we got out of the right wing. Well, he's not even an American citizen anyway, so why should we pass his budget? Why should we, you know, why should we sign on to Obamacare or whatever? It's just, you know, it's just some plot by some fucking terrorist Muslim or whatever. That's what we got out of these guys, you know, and it's already started. It's already started. So now it's like Joe Biden's a socialist, he's a communist, whatever, and Kamala Harris is just a plant, you know, a socialist commie plant, and she's not even a citizen. Yeah, it just sort of, it's funny how it's like, how the conspiracy theories, no matter how many times their predictions don't come true, or how many times you, like, you know, prove that it's all bullshit and like all that stuff, they just roll right over and they just fold in whatever new developments just happen and continue on. It's like a religion, You know what I mean? Right? So here we go. We basically just had a year of ridiculous QAnon bullshit where they were talking about like the storm and all of this stuff, and Donald Trump's going to arrest them, and they're all child murderers and blah blah blah, and then all the way up until yesterday, here's the storm, this is the storm, you know. Then it finally doesn't happen, and now it's like it just reinvents itself almost instantaneously, you know. Just this endless river of ridiculous right-wing bullshit. You know, this is what our lives are now. You know, when people talk about 2020 and how we're in the worst timeline and all that shit, this is what it's become. You know, we're in the timeline of endless, ridiculous, right-wing bullshit that just never ends. So, I don't know. You know, so that was, wow. We've already been on for 15 minutes? Dang, you know, time flies when you're just, like, speaking off the cuff. I see that Anna Chavez, yeah, Arizona GOP asking people to lay down their life. Yeah, I was actually going to get to that. I have a screenshot of that I wanted to show to you guys. Thank you for bringing that up, but I think I will show that now. This is the tweet, right? Oh, let me, there we go. This is what we do. This is what we are. You know what? Let me just see if I can't make that a little smaller. Yeah, there we go. Okay. This is what we do, who we are, live for nothing or die for something. I think this is from Rambo, you know, is what they were saying. I don't recognize this one. This must be from Rambo 6 or whatever. You know, the one where Rambo fights drug dealers. I don't know if you ever saw that one. I never actually saw it. I heard it was crappy. But yeah, this is what, I think this is what you were talking about, right? You know, lay down your life for Donald Trump or whatever. Which is fucking a joke. An absolute joke. And it just kind of, it shows you that they're starting to go bananas here. You know, because that was, now that Donald Trump has zero chance of staying in power legitimately at all, in the slightest. You know, now that he's finally lost his last, like, actual legal way of, you know, remaining president, all of the MAGA people and the QAnon cult people, you know, and the fucking nutty, crazy Proud Boy assholes are just kind of melting down, you know. This is it. Melting down, and now we're starting to see, like, you know, starting to see threats of violence, if not actual fucking violence. There was a thing last week where the Michigan Secretary of State said armed protesters descended on her home. Right? This is a pretty bad one. Oh, wrong one. There we go. Michigan Secretary of State says armed protesters descended on her home Saturday. Very bad stuff. Secretary of State Jocelyn Benton says dozens of armed protesters descended on her home Saturday night using megaphones to disrupt what had been a quiet evening with her young son. It was meant to intimidate her, Benson said, adding that it didn't work. I'm betting that it did work. Say, why is it that right-wing protesters, when they go to protest, they always go armed? Why is that? You know, they never just go, like, you know, left-wing protesters will go with signs and, like, do drum circles and shit like that. Right. But right-wing guys, and it doesn't matter what they're protesting. They could be protesting fucking, I don't even know, you know, whatever. They could be protesting fucking Chick-fil-A, right? Because Chick-fil-A is not, you know, anti-gay enough anymore or some shit like that. Or they could be protesting, you know, Disney or some shit like that. And they always have weapons, you know. At anti-mask protests, they have weapons. Right? It's like, what are you going to fucking, like, I remember that shit. I remember back in you know, when the whole pandemic started and these guys were in Michigan, again, I don't know why there's so many crazies in fucking Michigan, and they were protesting lockdown stuff, and they show up with guns. I remember this, and I'm like, well, what the fuck are you guys going to do with these guns? I mean, why are you bringing guns to an anti-lockdown, you know, protest? Are you going to shoot the fucking virus? Is that what you're going to do? Like, you know, lay down suppressing fire and then, you know, I don't know, dab it with some alcohol? Like, it doesn't make any sense. It's and so why do you bring guns to a protest? You know, the only reason you bring them, right, is to intimidate people, You know, it's a message. The message being that, you know, I'll kill you if you don't do what I say. Right? That's implicit. Whenever somebody shows up with it, and it's always, you know, and it's always the same fucking people, you know, I have a Second Amendment right to carry this weapon, you know, whatever, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, well, you know, I have a right to dress up like a giant dildo and light my head on fire, but I don't do it because I look like a moron, you know? Because it's stupid. So it's like, why are you bringing a fucking gun to the what are you afraid of, you know? I think there was a big thing, like, this past year, you know, with BLM, I really think that scared the living shit out of a lot of conservatives. I really think a lot of them just went, you know, fucking nuts when they saw that, because and actually started to really believe that this was it. This was helter skelter. You know, the black people were gonna come and invade their tiny ass town somewhere, and, like, you know, murder them all and kill them. And why? Why would they believe it? Because for the last 30 years, that's what fucking they've been hearing on places like Alex Jones and Red Ice, you know, radio, and, like, you know, even sometimes in the more, like, mainstream people like fucking Rush Limbaugh. You know, maybe he never straight out said there was going to be a race war, but, you know, he definitely uses racist dog whistles and shit like that, right, in order to fucking, like, rile people up, you know. So, yeah, I really think, you know, and you hear this from people talking about it online, you know, they really thought that, like, oh, buses of BLM protesters were going to, like, you know, descend on fucking Podunk, Missouri and murder all the white people in town. Like, you really, you know, people really thought this shit. And that's why, like, when we got our $1,200 stimulus, our only stimulus for this entire year, which in and of itself was a crime, gun sales spiked when that happened, right? You know, people around the country, scared, you know, white conservatives, went out and bought guns with their government stimulus money. Right? Because, why? Because they saw on TV that, you know, the black people were getting uppity. That's why. All right? And I really think that did a lot, you know, and I don't even really believe that it was the protests themselves that caused this. I think it was right-wing grifters. You know, people like fucking Andy No and Laura Ingraham and, you know, all of those, like, you know, at all different levels of the grift. You know, there's people at the bottom, like Andy No, even though Andy No's fucking, like, you know, or not Andy No, Tim Pool. Tim Pool, you know, is kind of at the bottom of the right-wing grift, but even though he's like a multi-millionaire, Tim Pool, he's like super rich, you know, but he doesn't make it look like, he makes it look like he's just a normal guy and shit. He, like Tim Pool apparently has, like, his own fucking, like, skate park under his house, like an underground, like, garage with, like, ramps and shit. Right, that's how much money this guy makes by fucking manipulating people's fear. You know, like, everybody from his end of the fucking aisle all the way up to, like, the Sean Hannitys and the Tucker Carlsons and the Rush Limbaughs and the you know, Laura Ingraham side of it. You know, for 30 years, all these people have just been, like, you know, planting this idea into these people's heads that one day, you know, the shit's gonna hit the fan. One day the government's gonna come, they're gonna take your guns, they're gonna fucking, you know, kick your children out of the schools or whatever. You know, they're gonna steal your land, right? And, you know, they're gonna force your kids to be gay, and they're gonna make you fucking eat soybeans. Right? They're gonna take away your land and make you live in a hobbit home, you know, and you won't be able to drive your truck anymore. Everything's gonna be, like, you know, environmentally friendly. You're gonna have to get an electric, you know, car and drive around in a fucking Prius and blah blah blah. And your children will be, like, forced to go through, you know, transition surgery, whether they like it or not. And, you know, and you can't get married anymore because marriage is gay now, because gay people get married, so it's gay. So, like, seriously, like, this is, like, the shit that, and it's just been, like, implanted in these people's heads for, you know, a generation, at least. As long as I can fucking remember. And I think it actually started, you know, in the late 70s. Well, we can actually pinpoint when it started. It started, in earnest when, and this is kind of like going off at a tangent, when Ronald Reagan deregulated the news and basically allowed them to, got rid of the fairness doctrine, is what that is, right? Because it used to be back in the day that when the news would have an editorial that said one side of the spectrum, then they would also have to have another editorial or corresponding program that would give the opposite side. That's what it used to be like, right? So that's why you would have shows like Crossfire. If you remember, Tucker Carlson started on a show called Crossfire back in the day on CNN, where he sat across from a liberal guy, even though the guy that he sat across from really wasn't that liberal. And they would give the opposing, issues, And actually, fun fact, that show got canceled because of Jon Stewart. Because Jon Stewart went on that show and basically, fucking called him out, right, for being right-wing, assholes, right? And you can get that on YouTube. I recommend everybody look that up. Look up Jon Stewart on Crossfire, where he just basically fucking feeds these guys their own asses, And it was so bad that, it was within 6 months, Crossfire was gone. That's how much of a takedown it was. It was nuts, right? So let's, everybody remember where Tucker Carlson came from, right? And how badly he got fucking owned. He got owned so hard that his fucking show got canceled. Anyway, moving on though, that's, fun fact there. So yeah, we're starting to see, the MAGA people lose their fucking minds. Starting to see armed protesters, and it's you can't blame them because their leaders are encouraging this shit, up to and including the fucking president himself. The president himself this last time, basically just spent 6 months telling everybody that the election was going to be rigged, all the way back why did he do that? Because the entire year he was, 5 to 7 points behind Joe Biden in the polls. And it was like everybody kind of figured he was going to lose. And although the same thing happened in 2016, right, and he ended up winning because he actually was behind in the polls the entire time in 2016 also, this time it was a little bit different. And, the analysis was different. It's like, okay, this time we're a lot more polarized. We know who Trump is, all this other shit, which we didn't really have the same thing back in 2016, right? And so it was sort of like the entire year he's just basically laying the groundwork in order to try to do exactly what he just tried to do, in order to get the Supreme Court to fucking steal the election for him. He was laying that down, he was putting that idea into people's heads that it's rigged, It doesn't matter, it's all, they're going to steal the election, don't let them steal it and all that shit, right? And so if you were one of these people, what would you think, The entire year, the man you're voting for, the man you look up to, the president, is telling you that the election's going to get stolen. Lo and behold, he fucking loses. What would you think? You would think that it got stolen. Okay? I mean, so it only makes sense that these people are angry now. So it's like, can you blame that? Whose fault really is it? Is it their fault? Or is it the people who are taking advantage of them? And at some point you have to kind of who do you blame for when... It's sort of like when you have a child that is like a spoiled fucking brat, spoiled asshole brat that just has no sense of responsibility and is completely fucking entitled. And you ever encounter that? You ever go out shopping or something and you're in the grocery store and there's just a kid who's old enough to know better, acting like a complete dick, thrashing about on the ground, screaming like a fucking baby, even though they're 12 or something, right? And you just want the parent to just smack him in the fucking head. Don't you? Have you ever encountered that? And that's wrong nowadays. You're not supposed to hit your kids, right? But still, that doesn't mean that you don't want to. And you see him, you see the kid, and you look at the parent, and you're like, just fucking take him outside and just smack him in the fucking head and just tell him to shut the fuck. You know what I mean? And there'll be the kid screaming that he wants some fucking Twinkies or some shit, on the ground, beating his fist, throwing a fucking tantrum, even though they're way too old to be doing that, you know, like they're already in like junior high school or something, and you're like, and you say, and this is what you think in your head, damn, if that was me, my mom would have fucking like beat my ass so hard, right? This is what you think in your head. And you go, well, no, okay, that's obviously wrong. You don't want to hit your kids, blah 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 blah. But at the same time, you don't stand there and let them get away with shit like that, right? Well, you know, at what point do you stop blaming? You know, whose fault is that? It's obviously the parents' fault for allowing their kid to get like that in the first place, right? Well, what if the parent encouraged their kid to act that way? You know, what if the parent liked it? You know, because they could take advantage of it somehow. You know what I mean? That's the situation we're in now. You know, it's like our politicians and our media figures on the right, you know, right-wing politicians, right-wing media figures, you know, right-wing businessmen, essentially. They make money from these guys, right? So that's why, you know, do you really think somebody like Tucker Carlson really gives a shit who the president is? Do you think he really cares? I don't think so. I don't think he fucking cares. I think, you know, he cares in so much that he would like there to be a conservative, but do you really think that it affects, you know, his life one way or the other if Joe Biden is the president over Donald Trump? No. Okay. He probably knows that he'll make more money if Joe Biden is president, because then more people will tune into his shit because he could be like, you know, opposing to him. Right? So the same thing with Fox, right? The same thing with all of these, you know, all of these fucking media talking head assholes, you know, all the way down to people like Alex Jones and the insane people, you know, like Alex Jones, like Liberty, what's that fucking dumb bitch's name, the girl who fucking like shit herself, Liberty Hangout, you know, all of those people, you know, they all know what the grift is, right? You know, and that's, you know, so I blame those guys more than like Joe Schmo in fucking Michigan, right, who's picking up a fucking rifle to go like, you know, yell at the governor. I mean, obviously I blame that guy. He should know better, right? And ultimately he's the one that's going to be held accountable if some violence and shit happens, you know. So yes, you don't blame people for the actions of others, right? But you can blame them for influencing others. And that's what Caitlin Bennett, thank you so much, Anna. You know, and I put as much blame for any violence that occurs because of this, right? I put as much blame on people like Tucker Carlson and Caitlin fucking Bennett and Andy No and Tim Pool and fucking Ben Shapiro. I put as much blame on those guys as the actual perpetrators of the violence, because those people didn't just not only sit around and allow it to happen, they encouraged it. Right? They encouraged it because these are the people that they make money from. And all it would fucking take is for one of those guys to stand up and be like, hey, this isn't cool, and it would stop. Donald Trump could get up on Twitter tomorrow and just be like, all right, you know what? Joe Biden won fair and square. I'm just gonna like, you know, be an elder statesman, and I'm just gonna like move on with the rest of my life and spend, you know, move to Mar-a-Lago and fucking like, I don't know, bang hookers for the rest of my life or something. And everybody please be cool and welcome him as our next president. And these people would do a 180, and they would fucking, you know, there would be a segment of people who didn't, obviously, but the majority of them would do a 180 and be like, well, I guess he won. And that would be it. But he's not going to do that. He's not going to do that because he's making money from these people. Right? And, you know, the rest of them are afraid of fucking Donald Trump. And that's why, you know, 106 Republicans from the House signed on to this fucking stupid lawsuit that they knew they were going to lose. You know, they knew, why would you sign on to something that you know you're going to lose, right? Why would you put your name on something that you know had zero chance of actually, like, you know, working out in your favor, right? It's because they're afraid of the base. Because they're afraid if they don't do it, Donald Trump is going to say naughty things about them on social media, right? And the base is going to get pissed at them. And that's what it is. It's like they've like, you know, they're gutless fucking weasels. Every last one of them, right? All 106 of those House representatives that signed on to this lawsuit is a gutless fucking weasel. And we need to tell them that repeatedly, over and over and over, right? The entire time, 12 of those guys, right? They were Republicans that signed on to that were from 12 states that just won in this last election. Okay? So what are they trying to say? Are they trying to say that the election that they fucking won is illegitimate? Is that what they're trying to say? Are they trying to say that they won because, like, this election was rigged? Why the hell would you rig an election and not go all the way? Why would you rig it only so Donald Trump wins, but, not those 12 Republicans who just, like, are being seated in the House because of this? It doesn't make any sense, If you're going to steal an election, you would sweep it, wouldn't you? Or you would at least make it so that, hey, maybe we'll have control of the Senate or some shit like that. If you're going to do it, why do it half-assed? It doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make any sense, But it's like, it doesn't, these people don't fucking actually think about shit in a logical manner. There is no logic when it comes to insane right-wing conspiracy theories. And that's another problem. We need to stop trying to pretend that any of this shit makes sense. And we need to stop pretending that any of these people are actually, like, capable of understanding that, because they're not capable. It's the same. They're not capable in the same way that someone who is a conservative Christian is not capable of rationally looking at evolution. All right, that's the same sort of thing. So, like, you ever go debate evolution with a Christian person, like a conservative evangelical or something, who thinks that, like, evolution is like a fucking satanic plot or some shit? It's impossible. Give up. You don't try, because it's like talking to a fucking brick wall. It's like beating a dead horse. They don't care. The shit that the things that they come up with to justify their dipshit opinion makes no sense, and they don't care that it doesn't make any sense. Maybe we'll do a live stream one of these days on, creationism versus evolution, so we can make fun of the Christians and all the stupid shit they believe, right? But it's the same kind of thing. It's just, they'll take shit that's highly irrational, disproved, straight out fucking ridiculous or wrong, right? And no matter how many times you demonstrate for them that it's wrong, they don't care. Right? They don't care because they're not interested in the actual truth. This is the same shit going on right here, and it's no coincidence that a lot of these people are the same people. No coincidence at all. It's like the more religious you are, the more likely you are to be conservative, the more likely you are to vote Republican, the more likely you are to not donate to charity, unless you count churches as a charity, right? The more likely you are to not make a lot of money, Now, this is sort of, it tracks with being religious, right? And being conservative. Because if you're just conservative, you usually tend to make money. Conservative people tend to be rich, but you're conservative and religious, you tend to be poor. Right? You tend to not be educated. You tend to, they also tend to, not have higher education, at least in that, beyond, like, college. Nothing beyond, tend to not be college graduates. It's like, all of this tracks together, right? And it's sort of like, we're dealing, the crazy people, the people that are out there threatening violence, the ones that are, like, going and bringing their fucking firearms and shit to go protest lockdown orders and all this other stuff. It's sort of like we're dealing with the lower bottom half in the IQ department. And I hate to use that. I hate to say that, because I think IQ is a dipshit, bullshit, measure of intelligence anyway. But I'm speaking their language when I say that, because that's what they would say about me. Right? That's what these people would say about me, and that's what they would say about, someone who's liberal progressive. They would insult my IQ, And in real life, it's like, yeah, well, the shit that you guys are doing doesn't really seem to be so smart. I don't know. It's fucking ridiculous, dude. Oh, my God. Something else, so past this, just to kind of rub this home a little bit more, here's an article from Red State Watcher where the Texas GOP is now considering, they're now calling to for law-abiding states to consider seceding and forming a new union. All right. So I wanted to show this to you guys, first off, for the fact that it's, there we go. First off, the fact that it's wacky as hell, right? Submitted by Maga student. Anyway, first off, it's wacky as hell, right? This idea that, here we go. Let me just read this to you guys, all right? The Supreme Court, in tossing the Texas lawsuit that was joined by 17 states and 106 U.S. congressmen, has decreed that a state can take unconstitutional actions and violate its own election law. That's bullshit. Resulting in damaging effects on other states that abide by the law while the guilty state suffers no consequences. This decision establishes a precedent that says states can violate the U.S. Constitution and not be held accountable. It doesn't. But anyway, this decision will have far-reaching ramifications for the future of our constitutional republic. Perhaps law-abiding states should bond together and form a union of states that will abide by the Constitution. So there's a lot wrong with that, right? But I wanted to not only show you this, I wanted to, because these are a bunch of tweets and shit by the Republican Party of Texas and all that crap, saying that we should, that they should go form a new country, maybe a Confederate country or something, right? But I wanted to actually kind of show you guys the comments here, okay? Because, I think sometimes we miss the forest for the trees here. And we see all the crazy shit that the, higher-ups say when it comes to these things. The politicians, the media figures, stuff like that. But you don't really get a flavor for what the actual real people out there are thinking, So I wanted to read some of these comments here for you guys, because you would think, like, seeing something like that, you'd think, like, God, what the fuck is the matter with these people? They're out of their minds. Well, let's actually see what people really think, right? These are the comments on this. Here we go. Sweet home Alabama. I am a red state, and I say hell yes. Whatever I have to do to keep those commies away from me, and I'm with you, neighbor. So, Sweet Home Alabama is a red state. I am a red state. I don't know what red state they are. Are they Arizona? Are they Louisiana? I don't know. I guess they're home. I guess they're Alabama. Keep those commies away from me. Patriot X. Hard decisions will have to be made. We cannot live with the left. Coexistence is just not possible with evil. They will not give an inch. They have to be positively destroyed. So, yeah, coexistence. So, see, that's the thing. Okay, so we don't just have an opposite political view. We're actually evil. This is what we're dealing with, right? Evil. Like Satan, right? Like fucking, Saruman from the Lord of the Rings. Right? Like fucking, not just like the guy down the street that you don't like or you don't agree with, right? Or has wears a different brand of jeans than you wear or some shit like that, or drives a different kind of car than you drive. Actual evil. Like fucking, what the fuck is that guy in like Voldemort in Harry Potter? That's who we are. Michael Goldman, absolutely. I am stuck in one for the moment. I'm assuming he means blue state. I need to be here for my dad. The earliest I can get out is July. I need to start looking at red states where I can get comparable medical care. Good luck with that, Michael Goldman. You won't be able to get comparable medical care in red states. I mean, if you got, I don't know, this guy, I think Michael Goldman's going to be very, very, very disappointed there when he goes shopping on the, Obamacare exchanges in places like Louisiana and Mississippi and shit, and finds out that he can't actually get the same kind of health insurance that he gets in California. Here we go. Lone Rider, right, which is It's a USMG. Security, I can't read what that says, but it's a skull with rifles on it. Constitutionalists for liberty and freedom. Laughing at leftists. So when does a vote for succession take place? Quit screwing around. We're not going to submit ourselves to an ill-gained election for president and a crooked-minded administration draw the battle lines. If the Texas state borders represent that battle line, then so be it. Time to get serious and stand up to the socialists that pollute D.C. and leftist states that hate our founding principles. We are not a country that supports tyranny and socialist policies. We have sent our young men into war to keep that ideology off our shores. We have? Now they are inside our country trying to bring her down. It's time to get real. I'll bring a bucket filled to ensure that the tree of liberty gets watered as it should. Yep. So basically saying he's going to go kill people. He's going to go kill people because we're going to put the man who got 7 million more votes for president as, into the office, right? He wants the guy who got 7 million less votes to be president, and if he doesn't get that, he's going to go shoot communists and leftists, all right? Oh my God. Here we go. I agree with you. But there is so much that has to be done. The country has to divide up any government money. Whoa, what's going on with that? States will have to decide if they're keeping the border wall or not. Wait, divide up any government money. Okay. Please keep in mind that the red states put in less tax dollars than the blue states, right? This has been something that's been like this for decades, and it's because more people live in blue states. So when you got more people that live in a state, the more tax dollars they pay. So California and, New York, right, pay way more money than Alabama or Mississippi does, right? Those states, the red states are the ones that actually take more federal tax dollars. So if we were to actually divide the country up and take California and New York and Washington and put them in the United States of blue awesomeness, and then, Alabama and Florida and Texas and all that, and put them in the Confederate States of assholes or whatever, they would have way less money than they do now, right? So keep that in mind. This is like that kind of like, I think these people don't really realize what would actually happen if there actually was a division and a civil war and then we lived in two separate countries, right? Anyway, states will have to decide if they will let in illegals or not. People who believe in abortion and want it to exist where they live will need to move. The biggest problem is that conservatives that live in blue states and socialists that live in red states need to find out if they will need to leave. Well, you could do that, or you could just have elections and you could vote for shit, and then whoever gets the most votes wins. How about that? I mean, that's kind of how we've been working this whole time, right? I guess not, I guess if more people vote for abortion and you don't want it, it's just your right to go fucking kill them. I guess that's how it is. Yes, I think that with the stupid ruling by the SCOTUS last night, the country's finished unless there is a war and the military sides with us. The Constitution is certainly finished and the Bill of Rights probably going along with it. Got news for you, Michael Goldman. If there actually is a civil war, the military is siding with the government. So if you and Lone Rider up here and all the other red, proud conservative assholes go off to form your own fucking country someplace, the military's not going with you. All the tanks and the bombs and the drones and the nuclear fucking weapons, all that shit stays with us, right? And then we'll get to fucking unleash that shit on you people. And I'm sure that your AR-15 is going to defend you from it. Good luck. Some more comments here. I don't want to keep going, but they're, bunch of people screaming, basically laughing and praying. I'm praying for, violence. They want to go out. They're praying to God that they get the opportunity to go out and dress up like toy soldiers and shoot people. The blue states have nothing that I will miss. Here we go. This is from White House Clown. I'm ready. The blue states have nothing that I will miss. Yeah, except for those tax dollars. You're going to miss those once your fucking Tennessee Valley Authority dries up because you don't have any money anymore. Oh, let's see. Too fast. I live in California. I've been ready to move back to the United States for 20 years. Well, go. Get the fuck out. What are you waiting for? You know? Oh, I know why you're not leaving, because California's better. That's why you're not fucking leaving too fast. You fucking asshole. You could leave anytime you want. You know, that's the beauty of living in the United States, right? You don't need papers to go from one state to another state. You can move to whatever fucking state you want. That's what it means to be free, okay? To actually make, you know, it means that you can make decisions like an adult, right? And you don't need permission. You know, you don't have to, like, prove that you're pro, you know, anti-abortion and pro-Second Amendment and shit when you move into a town, right? And so, yeah, too fast, just go, dude. What the fuck are you waiting for? You know? Damn. Here we go. Sunflower Gal is actually wants Colonel Allen West to lead the charge. Oh, happy days. I knew this was going to happen. Yes, Colonel Allen West, lead the charge. Texas is going to rock it. Texas has a special constitution because they drafted it cleverly so the USA would not be able to infringe their rights as free citizens. No, that's bullshit. Texas is once an independent nation in and of itself after the Mexican-American War. It has a special state constitution which is separate from other states. This is why Texas is leading the charge of this battle. It's a good thing. No, it doesn't. The Texas Constitution is subservient to the United States Constitution. That's how it works. So if if Texas has a law that goes against the United States Constitution, guess what? The United States federal Constitution trumps the Texas state constitution. That's how it works. Texas is not its own country. And I don't know why people think that shit. Here we go. That Davy Crockett. Oh, okay. We know that this guy is a good old American guy. He's king of the wild frontier here. That wouldn't bother me any. Then we can start getting rid of illegal alien parasites and other trash. We do not have our own standing army that is only under the command of the government. Oh my God. See, it's all the same shit, folks. It's all the same shit. It's like, you know, racist, bigoted horseshit. That's it. It all comes back down to it. You know, it comes back down to the fact that these people over here aren't white. So that means we get to kill them. Ridiculous. Here we go. This guy is really fucking delusional. NH native. You do realize that the fuckers will flee right out of those failed blue states, don't you? Splitting up sounds good. Until you see that... Oh my God. Okay. Until you see that all that has happened is the blue states are now damn near empty and you think the red states are overpopulated. Think. This pattern is happening now already. So... this guy, I think, also would be very disappointed to see what actually would happen. He thinks that if there was a civil war, everyone, and they actually did secede from the Union, if the red states all seceded from the Union, that all the people would flee from the blue states, right? Because they're failed states. But in real life, it's the complete opposite. In real life, people in blue states make more money, they're higher educated, they live longer, right? You get, and it's why, yeah, you pay more taxes in blue states, but you get more services in blue states. You actually get things like, you know, help when you're homeless, you know, to a limited degree. And it could be way more, don't get me wrong, you know, but you actually do get stuff like, you know, get help when you're like on, you know, welfare and unemployment and all that shit. You know, a lot of those services you don't get in red states, right? You know, and it's like, because, yeah, you have to pay taxes for this stuff, you know, but paying taxes isn't necessarily a bad thing, right? And this guy, I think, needs to go and look up a couple of statistics and see who's paying who, you know, so they're delusional, these people, right? I don't know. Enough of this, but I'm going to put this here so you guys can read this. You know, and yeah, usually you want to stay away from, when you're in place, let me turn this shit off, it's giving me a headache. When you read stuff like this, they always tell you don't look at the comments, you know, stay away from YouTube comments, stay away from all this shit, right? But, you know, you have to kind of, like, I don't know, if you want to really see what the actual people are thinking, the actual rank and file, the actual, like, you know, guys out there who would, you know, who follow this stuff, you kind of have to, like, get down and dirty. And you got to read the comments. You got to go into the YouTube comments. You got to go into the comments on articles like this. You got to go to the shittier parts of Reddit. You know, I even am thinking of starting up a Parler account as soon as I can get an alternate phone number, because I don't want to give them my real phone number, you know, because fuck that, that's bullshit. Right? But, you know, you have to go where they are. If you have to confront them in the spaces that they propagate in, right? Because, or else you're not going to really know, because the normal, ordinary people you meet in your daily life and shit aren't going to say shit like this, right? They're not going to express these opinions because, you know, these are despicable opinions. And in real life, people kind of understand, you know, when you meet someone and you talk to them in, like, you know, face to face and shit, they kind of understand that, like, this is, like, going to make me look crazy. But when you go on the internet, then you can say all the shit that you want. So it's like, yeah, maybe a little bit of that is just posturing. Maybe a little bit of it is just, like, you know, just people blowing off steam, or, like, you know, whatever, right? But some of it won't be, you know. And we already know it's like for every, you know, there is no formula, of course. But you can't be like, well, for every 1,000 people, there's going to be, you know, one that translates into some guy that actually does violence, right? But it will be someone. Somebody out there is going to take this shit and go a little too far. Somebody out there is going to be, you know, is going to drink a little bit too much of the Kool-Aid and possibly flip out and show up at a protest, at a BLM protest, with a fucking, you know, AR-15 and shoot 50 people, right? And we know this because we've seen this happen in the past. This is what happens when you have radicalized spaces like this, right? When this kind of shit goes unopposed, when, you know, you see shit like the Christchurch shooting, you know, or what was that one guy that in New Zealand who, like, went into a mosque and shot, like, a bunch of people and then fucking live streamed it on 8chan, right? Like, you see shit like that, you know, when there isn't opposing voices, you know, trying to, you know, speak some reason into people, even if you're just arguing with them, right? Sometimes that's enough. Sometimes it's enough just to show that there are people out there who don't necessarily agree with this. And if you can, you know, if you can express that opinion out, even if your opinion gets downvoted and all of that shit, right, you know, there's a chance that they might click on it anyway just to check you out and see, well, what does this guy think? And then, you know, if all it really takes, right, is just planting that little seed of doubt in there, being like, you guys are nuts, you're crazy, this is insane, he's cheating, whatever, all that shit. And that might be enough to prevent somebody from, like, going over that edge, right? So it's worth it, you know. Right? It's worth it to go in there and engage these people, right? It's worth it to read the comments. It's worth it to go into, you know, to risk the fucking eye cancer of YouTube comments and shit like that and respond to people, you know. Because if you don't do it, it's like, then they'll just be in this, like, you know, fucking unopposed echo chamber, right? Where it'll just escalate further and further and further, and before you know it, there's fucking people, like, advocating, like, murder, like we just saw there, right? You know, it's not revolution when you're, like, you know, trying to, like, fucking, when you're killing people based on their preference for, you know, freedom of, you know, right to choose or whatever, like, right? Or, like, their preference for their political party, right? That's not a revolution. That's fucking murder. When you're, like, going around and, like, shooting people that live just based on where they live. You live in a blue state. You're a commie bastard. You must die, right? Unfucking believable. The thing is that this is really not a new thing. God, have we been talking for an hour already? Fuck. Time is flying. I'm gonna end this at around probably 4:30 or 5 at the latest because I have to like go grocery shopping. So we'll continue for another hour and a half at least. And then my friend Raph was probably gonna join us, but I don't know if he is. I don't know, he might. Um, Sorry, hitting the camera there. This is really not a new thing. Okay, this is, I think what we're seeing is shocking a lot of people, but you got to remember it was kind of always like this. It was just sort of simmering beneath the surface, you know. Now, for sure, the mainstream right wing in this country has gotten a lot more radicalized. That's most definitely, you know, and when I say the mainstream right wing, I mean the politicians, I mean the media figures, you know, that kind of thing. Like, those people have most for sure been radicalized much more than they used to be, right? But the rank and file people, those guys have always been there. We've always seen people like those internet comments that I just read. That was always kind of happening. That was always kind of around. And it really was Donald Trump that brought these people up and, like, you know, encouraged this shit. And what it was is that, because, you know, even before he got elected in 2016, he was already encouraging violence to people, right? He was already sort of like, when every other politician out there would shut people down for doing this shit, Donald Trump fucking encouraged it, you know? So, I don't know if you remember, there was a real famous case, like way back in the day, when the fuck was his name? You know, Sarah Palin and, you know, and who the fuck was the senator from Arizona that ran for president? I can't believe that I can't remember his name right now. Jesus Christ, am I like going like senile and shit? You know, the guy that died. What was? God damn, the 2008 or the 2012 Republican, you know, nominee. No, not Romney. Sorry, no, 2008 Romney. Holy shit, I really can't remember who fucking ran for the. I can't remember his fucking name. John McCain. Jesus Christ, I'm going nuts. I'm like, wow, I really could not remember John McCain's name right there. Holy fucking shit. I'm gonna like go senile. This is some bad news, folks. That was really like, I should have remembered that. Anyway. So, yeah, back in 2008, right? So there was a real famous interaction John McCain had with a supporter, when a supporter like basically tried to like you know, during a rally, and the supporter tried to badmouth Barack Obama, and it was like right after, you know, I think it wasn't during his concession speech, I think, but it was right afterwards, I think. And some lady tried to like, or maybe even right before, some lady tried to basically call, you know, Barack Obama a Muslim terrorist or whatever. And John McCain shut her down and just kind of said, no, he's a good man. You know, yeah, we disagree politically, but, you know, but he's a good man and he'll make a good president or something like that, right? John McCain shut him down, and a lot of people gave him shit over that. A lot of people were like, you know, you're a traitor and all that other shit. Right. And the thing is that Donald Trump took the opposite approach, you know, because that's what normal, ordinary politicians would do, right? Normal, ordinary politicians would shut the crazies down like that because they, up until that point, understood that it made them look bad. But Donald Trump didn't do that. Donald Trump figured out, hey, these insane people will love me no matter what I fucking say. And so he, like, encouraged the nuts, the crazy people, right? And he would do shit like, you know, he would do shit like joke about Hillary Clinton being assassinated. I don't know if you remember that, right? That was a joke. Like, that, I actually have a link here. Let's see. Trump himself joked about assassinating Hillary Clinton. This was true shit back in, I don't know if you remember this, back in, wrong one. Back in 2016. This was September 16th before the election, right? Speaking at a rally this afternoon, Donald Trump wittily observed that even though Hillary Clinton thinks there should be some legal restrictions and who can buy firearms, right, she also believes that Secret Service agents should carry firearms. And then basically he made a fucking joke about, let's see what happens to her, right, if her Secret Service agent should be disarmed. Ha ha ha, it's all funny, somebody might kill her, right? And then, not even that much longer after that, you get this story. This is another story. Donald Trump supporter threatens to assassinate Hillary Clinton if she wins. Right? That other story was in September. This is October of 2016. Trump supporter in Cincinnati went so far as to suggest he would take matters into his own hands should Mrs. Clinton win the race to the White House, hoping for a coup or revolution. I feel like Hillary needs to be taken out if she gets in the government. Dan Bowman, 50 years old, told CNN, I'll do everything in my power to take her out of power, which if I have to be a patriot, I will. If I have to be a patriot and murder the person who legitimately wins the election, I will, according to this guy. That's, yeah, so, there was lots of, this is shit that, it's not like it's new, right? Even back in 2016, here's another one. Some Donald Trump voters warn of a revolution if Hillary Clinton wins. This was back in 2016, October 27th, right? Because everybody thought that, fuck off. Everybody thought that Trump was going to lose. And some of these people were threatening violence, I'll put links to all of this stuff down in the bottom, after the stream here, right? Here's another one, the one I was just looking at just now, right? So it's not like all of a sudden the right-wingers just went nuts and have started threatening violence and all of this shit, They were already there. They were there even before Trump arrived on the scene, way back in the, 2008. I remember a thing about Sharon Engel. I don't know if you remember her. She was I think she was governor of Arizona, and she was talking about how, voters would have to take a Second Amendment remedies, right, if they lose the election. And then I remember that was on TV, and then the guy, was on CNN, and he's like, what do you mean by Second Amendment remedies? And then she just danced around the fucking comment that she just made, basically calling on people to fucking go kill, grab their guns and go murder people if they lose the election. It's they've always kind of been there. And you never see this coming out of the left wing, you never see people like Bernie Sanders standing up and saying that his political opponent should be fucking, arrested or assassinated, right? Please keep in mind Donald Trump tried to do that too. He tried to get Bill Barr to arrest Joe Biden and Kamala Harris before the election, right? And I am not making that up either, because I actually have another link to that. That actually happened as well. Here we go, right monitor. Where are all the arrests? Trump demands Barr lock up his foes. And I'm not going to read through this one, but basically that's part of the reason why Donald Trump, here, I'll put the link in the sidebar there, or the chat. That's part of the reason why Donald Trump is most likely going to fire Bill Barr now, because he didn't, lock up fucking Joe Biden when Trump wanted him to. Right? So it's not like, it's not like he didn't try this shit this time around. It just didn't work. I think that's another reason why Donald Trump specifically himself is so in denial that he lost, right? Because if you look at this election, he did everything he could to tip the scales in his favor. They kicked people off voter rolls, they screwed up the post office in order to slow down the delivery of basically they encouraged their people not to vote by mail, and then, knowing that the Democrats would vote by mail, and then they specifically tried to fucking nerf the post office so that all of those mail-in ballots wouldn't arrive on time, right? Certain states like Texas did things like reduce the number of polling stations, or then drop-off boxes for mail-in ballots, They put like one per fucking county in Texas, shit like that. And I think that's part of the reason why, because in Texas and in Florida and all that, Joe Biden was, according to the polls, should have won in those states too. And he didn't, right? And I think a lot of that probably has to do with voter suppression tactics like this. I think we're seeing the results of voter suppression in Texas and in Florida, because he should have won there, because he was way fucking ahead in the polls, right? The polls, I really do, a lot of people, like, you'll see, like, this is kind of a tangent, but we'll get back to the other shit later. A lot of the times, like, since 2016, a lot of the election, analyzers, people who, like, analyze the election, I guess, kind of are, I guess, leery of polls now, because since they were so off in 2016, they're just sort of like, hey, we can't trust them anymore, that kind of thing. And I think, no, because in the first couple of days after this past election, a lot of people were saying that too. Oh, Joe Biden should have won by way more. He was ahead by 7 points and all this other crap, right? And I really think that, now that all the votes have been counted and every state has been certified, it aligns a little more closer to what the polls were, But I think that if we didn't have these voter suppression efforts in states like Texas and in Florida and Georgia and all this other shit, the actual votes would have been a lot more closer to what the polls are, because polling is very much a very well understood process, right? I kind of worked in that industry for a little bit, statistics and marketing and all that shit. I kind of have a little bit of insight about how it all works and how how the math behind it, the math behind polling and weighting the polls and weighting questions and cleaning data, that kind of thing. I know how all of that shit works, right? And so I know that it's like when they talk about within 3 points, they mean it. You know what I mean? It's like, okay, this poll is accurate within 3 points. That's true. It's accurate within 3 points. The fucking science behind it is well. Like the formulas, not really the science, but the formulas behind the calculations are, extremely well vetted and trustworthy, right? And so I think that we really did see some voter suppression, the effects of voter suppression in especially places like Florida and Texas. I think they probably might not have gone into Biden's camp, but it would have been a lot more closer than it actually turned out to be if we didn't see so much vote suppression going on there. But anyway, let's move on. Oh fuck, my voice. I need to drink some water. Hang on a second, folks. I got some water here. I have been kind of talking up a storm here for a bit. So, I want to shift gears for a little bit here. Talk about pandemic. Because I actually saw an anti-lockdown protest, which happened not that far away, in my hometown, right? And, this is at a restaurant. Let me just open this video up here. This is at a restaurant in... Oh, pause. Okay. And let me just turn that up, right? And put on my headphones. All right. So, let me turn on my monitor. So right now, there is, in California, a, what is that? What the hell is that? Oh, wait. What is it? Wait, what's going on here? Where's that noise coming from? You guys hear that? There's like music playing or something. Is it my phone? Shit, that was weird. I don't know. I've never heard that. There was like some kind of music or some shit playing. That was kind of strange. Anyway, So yeah, I live in a suburb north of Los Angeles. I'm not going to tell you exactly where I live, but it's a somewhat rich area. I'm not really rich myself, unfortunately, but where I live is pretty nice. I mean, we're talking $1 million homes. Celebrities and shit kind of live around here. A few of them close to the beach, and it's very nice. It's got wooded areas, stuff like that. You know, close enough to downtown in Hollywood that you can get there within a certain a short amount of time, right? It's very very nice where I live, and it's also a little conservative, right? Um, so let me kind of show you here this video that I encountered because the state in California, they've because of the pandemic, right? They've ordered all restaurants to basically shut down, back to takeout only. So for a little while, you could, for maybe about the last 5 months or so, you could eat outside if you wanted to, right? And a lot of, you got to remember, a lot of restaurants and a lot of small businesses have kind of closed up shop permanently now because of the pandemic, and it's really bad, and I understand that, but now we're starting to see like anti-lockdown measures, well, not measures, but anti-lockdown protests, stuff like that, right? And you see this kind of thing on the news, and you're like, I'll usually see this on like Reddit or on the news or something, and it'll be some place like out in like fucking Montana or something, or Texas or whatever, like some red state, and you'll be like, oh wow, yeah, that's bad, these people are idiots, what are they doing? But no, this shit is happening everywhere. It's happening in my hometown, in liberal Los Angeles. Right? Los Angeles, which is like the most liberal state, liberal city in the fucking country, next to maybe San Francisco. You know what I mean? This is where this shit is happening. So here's here's a video that I took myself. Let me just make this a little smaller. Oh, wrong one. It's the blue one. No, that one. There we go. Let me just make that a little smaller so you guys can see what I'm seeing here. Right. This is a restaurant not far away from where I live at the middle of the night, and I was kind of afraid to go up to this place because you can kind of see how jam-packed it is. So let me go ahead and hit play here. A bunch of people out there waving their American flags. Right? These guys over on this side with, they had Trump flags. They had fucking, they had those libertarian "Don't Tread on Me" flags. Right? So first off, I want you to notice, forgive the grainy video, but this was like kind of late at night and shit, and I didn't want to get too close because there were far too many people there, Keep in mind, while this is happening, the day before this happened, there were 2,923 people who died from, the disease, the C word, right? This is at the height of, it's as bad now in the country as it's been the entire year. Okay. And if you look here, this person's not wearing a mask. All these people over here weren't wearing masks, right? Bunch of people, no masks, fucking standing really close to each other, as this guy, is sitting here. Look at this shit, Let me turn this down a little bit, because you can't really hear what the guy says anyway. Basically there's a dude in there, like, yelling and screaming about how it's all... Another person without a mask, there she goes. Yelling and screaming about how it's all unfair, blah, 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 blah. Right? Here's the thing about this, right? The guy that owns this restaurant, apparently his father died of COVID-19, right? Earlier this year. And now it's like, now he's having a fucking anti-mask, anti-shutdown rally at his fucking restaurant, you know? And you would think, okay, because this is what people say. People say, oh yeah, well, conservatives, they'll start caring about things when it affects them personally. Another guy without a mask. There you go. Right. Well, this affected him personally. And obviously he doesn't give a shit. It's like, well, money's more important to this guy than people's lives, than the lives of his own fucking family. I mean, there you go, another kid without a mask, right? Anyway, we could go through this whole thing, and I think I'll post this up on YouTube so you can actually read it. And basically the guy just is, the usual sort of bullshit, like, fucking, we have a right, blah, 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 etc., etc. And apparently the thing with this guy is that he didn't want to shut down his restaurant right before Christmas, right? Yeah, okay, I can understand that. I can understand not wanting to send people home before Christmas. Okay, but there's also, you have a sense of responsibility when you're a business owner. You know what I mean? If you're like, because somebody there, I mean, you saw how many people were there, right? And as this is happening at the height of a pandemic, someone in that crowd is going to catch the disease. Somebody there who was there that night, 14 days from now, is going to be dead. Because that guy. Because that guy didn't want to lose money. All right? And this is what I mean when I talk about, personal responsibility. Like, but who's actually responsible, right, for extending this pandemic, for keeping it going, right? If we all just would have done the right thing, if we would have taken responsibility, personal responsibility ourselves, 6 months ago, this shit would be over with, And it's like these people, they would rather go eat a fucking hamburger in public than take the basic precautions and just wear a mask. Don't eat in public. I mean, you can still get a hamburger. Just get it delivered to you. Eat it in your car. Eat it, outside at the park, 6 feet away from somebody else. Eat it at home. You can still get, food. You can still go shopping, right? You can still watch a movie. And it's like, no, they're basically like spoiled fucking children because they don't want any disruption that makes them slightly uncomfortable, And who do you blame for this, man? Like, I mean, yes, okay, you blame them because they're the people that are actually fucking perpetrating this shit, right? But I blame right-wing media people. I blame people like Tucker Carlson, right? Like Rush Limbaugh. Like all of those people out there that are making money, convincing these assholes that it's all like, that wearing a mask and taking, precautions and shutting down, live events and groups where, places where lots of people come and gather, and pretending that that's some kind of fucking commie plot or something. Those are the people that, that should be blamed for this. So every time somebody dies, right, keep in mind, just remember that person didn't have to die, right? And they wouldn't have died if we didn't have right-wing grifters in this country. It's unbelievable. It's unbelievable just how did we get into this situation where basic fucking precautions against a disease that can kill you have somehow been politicized? It doesn't make any sense. It's embarrassing. It's embarrassing. And we don't have that problem in, other countries around this world. And I say this a lot in every stream. And it's because I want to hammer it home. People in New Zealand are not having this problem, right? People in Germany are not having this problem. People in France, in Australia, in Japan, they're not having this problem, okay? They don't have entire segments of their population who are refusing to fucking do the basic fucking the smallest little thing in order to help keep other people safe. But we do in this country. We do in this country because our country is filled with right-wing assholes. And we have a president that tells people to fucking, inject bleach into themselves, right? Or inject themselves with fucking fishbowl cleaner, hydroxychloroquine or whatever, right? Instead of actually, doing the right fucking thing and, putting out, getting a national mask mandate, for example, right? Or, getting people, fucking, money so that they can afford to stay home, right? Instead of just doing that like every other fucking country on earth did. It's such a joke. I don't know if you guys heard, so they had a big stimulus bill that was, the big compromise, right, that Congress just spent the last fucking 2 weeks fighting over. They finally come to a compromise, and then Mitch McConnell just, 86s it and says, nope, no money for you guys. So yeah, the big compromise bill, the $983 billion bill, which would have allowed them to, would have been shitty, and people would have got a $600, check. But the good news about it is that it would have, stopped evictions, and it would have continued on, unemployment for a little while. Gone. Gone because Mitch McConnell's a fucking piece of garbage, right? He's literally a pile of human shit stuffed into a $3 suit. So now more people are going to die. More people are going to be laid off. More people are going to lose their benefits and, be evicted from their houses and end up homeless because of Mitch McConnell. So just remember that, folks, right? I think really the reason why they did that is because they're basically setting up Joe Biden to fail. Keep that in mind too. Over this next year, 2021, if you guys think 2020 was bad, 2021 is going to be 5 times worse than 2020. Raph, hey, was that you? Wait, Raph, did you just try to call me or something? Because I heard some kind of weird ass music, but I was looking around and I couldn't see anything. And I'm I don't know, it wasn't my phone going off, so I don't know what happened. But anyway, oh, you're right. Sorry, Raph. Okay, you know what? So my friend Raph was actually going to join us. And I forgot. So let me open up Discord and I'll get you on the stream here, Raph, for the last half hour. Give me a minute, dude. It's downloading an update. Sorry about that, dude. Anyway, so yeah, our stream will have a special guest, and Shoma will be joining us in a few minutes here, guys. Yeah, so, but before we get to that, I wanted to just kind of get this last point out while Discord is updating and it opens. Yeah, things are going to be pretty bad in 2021, and they're setting up Joe Biden to fail in 2021. So by not getting the stimulus money out there, that's just step number 1. You know what I mean? The vaccine's not going to show up until summer of next year anyway. So now all of a sudden, right, all the conservatives and the Fox Newses and the OANs and Newsmaxes, they're going to suddenly start caring about the, numbers of deaths and infections. All of the things that they don't give a shit about now, they never talk about now. As soon as Joe Biden takes over, they're going to start caring about it. They're going to be like, 3,000 people died yesterday. It's like, yeah, well, they did back in December, but you didn't give a fuck then. But they will now. They will now because they can blame it on Joe Biden, right? Once all of the people start getting evicted from their homes because Congress will be unable to pass any eviction moratoriums, right? That's all going to get blamed on Joe Biden, right? Suddenly the economy is going to be shitty again, because the economy is shitty right now, and it has been shitty for years, but it's going to be way more, now they're going to blame it on Joe Biden. They're going to say the nanosecond Joe Biden took over, everything went to hell in a handbasket. This is the strategy now. And it's like all of the stuff that we're basically is happening now that they're just ignoring. Right? They're ignoring, and McConnell is trying to make it all worse. So get ready for that, folks. Get ready for this sort of, Zerg rush against Joe Biden, which is going to happen literally the nanosecond he becomes president. All of the countries in the world, all of the problems in the world are going to be, suddenly his fault. Let's see. Can I call you? Let me try calling you, Raph. Let's see what happens. Is it calling you now? Let's see. Call. Disconnect. I started a call, and can you hear me? I don't know if I can't hear it. It says no route. Disconnect. No suppression cue. Turn on camera screen. It says you're typing. Wait. Okay. Whenever you're ready, Raph, go ahead and call me back. Oh man. So why don't we take some time here? We're at 1:30. Whew. Let's take some time and read through some of the comments for you guys here. My hand kind of hurts. So I'll take a break from drawing for a second and let's read through some stuff. Let's see. Anna Chavez, Republican Party isn't even a party anymore. It's a cult. Yeah, you got that right. I assume there's some respectable Republicans, but it's like they let the crazies walk all over them. Yeah, they have. They're afraid of these people now. You know what I mean? And it's because, they've kind of created a monster. They've Donald Trump has used these people to gain power and has used them to, has catered specifically to them, to the crazy people, right, over the last 4 years. And now that he's on his way out, it's kind of like they don't know what to do. You know what I mean? And that's why 106 fucking, House members signed on to this ridiculous fucking, bullshit lawsuit that they know has no chance of fucking winning, right? Because they're afraid if they don't, they're afraid of Trump's base. And it's like, I don't know, man. I think, if I were a Republican politician, I think what I would do is I would speak truth to power, because these are people that are so used to being bullshitted that they don't understand what actually is true anymore, right? And I think this would be a good way to actually get some popularity, is to be the guy that was like the sane voice in the room, But that requires courage. It requires courage because it might not work. And it requires some balls to actually stand up to the insane people. And none of them have that. They don't have it because, by their nature, conservative and Republican politicians are slimy and wormy. By their nature. They're corrupt pieces of fucking human garbage. I mean, can you imagine somebody like, you can't hear me, Raph? Sorry, dude. Hey, Raph, I'm gonna hang up. Try calling me. Okay. Hang on one second. Sorry, folks. Give me 1 second. Technical difficulties. All right. There we go. So anyway, yeah. Let's move on. Let's see. Anna Chavez. Joe Biden is their Emperor Palpatine. Yeah. Which is like, it's true, but it's like he's like a pathetic Palpatine. You know what I mean? Like, it's definitely true, but if you're coming up with an enemy, I mean, Joe Biden, for fuck's sake. Like, oh shit, I just spilled something. Hang on, guys. Do I have napkin? Yes, I do. Okay. Luckily, it did not get on my my drawing here. It just got on some other paper. Let's see. Sorry, I'm trying to get my special guest here connected. Okay. Let's incoming call. Hit yes. Okay, Raph, can you hear me? Can you hear me? Let's see this. Anything? I can't hear you. Oh, it says connecting. Okay, good. Let's see who else joined. Onward to dystopia. Where's the Kraken, Lil? Oh, you can't hear me, Raph, dude. I'm sorry. You know what? I don't know if this is gonna work, Raph. I don't know if I can't hear you either. No, no, I can't hear you. Sorry, dude. I'm trying to get my friend to join the call, join the stream, and we're trying to do it through Discord, and doesn't seem to be working too well. Not sure what's happening here. I don't know. Uh, sorry, guys. Give me 1 second. So, yeah, what else we got? Let's move on a little bit. Let's see. Anna Chavez. These people are literally salivating at the mouth at the thought of shooting libs. Yes. That's the sad part, you know, because yeah, they have kind of. I mean, this wacky element has been around for a while. You know, like I said. I mean, but I really think that's also like that's also kind of our fault a little bit. Well, okay, it's not our fault, but I think we can do more. I think we can do more to try to, you know, try to educate these people. And I don't mean to say that in a condescending way, okay? Because that's counterproductive, right? When you're condescending to people, when you're rude to them, etc., you know, that just drives people away from you. And I think there needs to be some outreach to, you know, help these people understand what's actually causing their problems. You know what I mean? So you have the crazy, insane people, right, who no matter what you do are going to hate you, right? Those are the people who are too far gone. You know, Hillary Clinton's deplorables. You have those people, you know, the fucking, you know, right now it seems like they're starting to multiply. But yeah, there are maybe about 30%, you know. These are the people that, you know, are the reason why Donald Trump's, you know, Donald Trump's fucking, you know, positive rating, like, never went before, like, you know, presidential approval rating never went below 30%. You know, it never went below, it hovered around 40% the entire time. I think the lowest it ever got was like 39, right? Because of those guys, you know, because of his hardcore base, the deplorables, right? But if you think that's only, you know, 40%, right? It's not enough to win an election, and that's why he lost, because this time only the hardcore supporters went out. And even though that translated to 77 million votes, it was still not enough. You know what I mean? But if you actually talk to any of these people, if you actually sit them down and try to have a conversation, if you get past all the insane shit, you find out that a lot of these guys, they worry about the same shit that we worry about. You know, they worry about jobs. You know, they want their country to be a good place to live. They want health insurance. They want to be able to, you know, feed their kids and get them educations and shit like that. And they want to be safe, you know. And one thing you'll find is with conservatives, you know, in general, is they're motivated a lot more. They're motivated a lot more through fear, you know. And this also has to do with how old you are too. You know, the older you are, the more you tend to be motivated through fear. The more you're motivated through losing what you have, right? Like, young people don't give a shit about that because they don't have anything, right? So when you're young, you know, you're 18, 19, 20, 21, and you're in college and shit, and you just want to smash the system, right? And it's because, partially because, you know, you're young, you're idealistic, You haven't been fucking like smacked down and shit growing up, you know. But also, it's because you're not invested in the system at that age. You don't own a house or, you know, a stock portfolio or 401k or, you know, anything like that. You don't have investments. You haven't been at a job that, you know, that you've worked at for 13 years straight. And, you know, right. So if your industry goes out of business, it's like fucking a major deal for you. Like, you don't have that when you're young and idealistic. And so you're at that age, you're much more willing to just like take drastic changes. You want to see, you know, drastic systemic changes that changes everything, right? And then as you get older, you know, you're more likely to accept kind of small incremental changes, you know. And does that mean you become more conservative? I don't know. Maybe I've become myself a little more centrist. But it's like now I can see it now that I own a house and I have, you know, I have investments and I have savings and shit like that and stuff. If I have things that I'll lose if the system goes belly up, if we have another financial crisis, right? If the housing market tanks, right? All of this shit. Like I have things that are at risk now. Whereas when I was 21, I didn't give a fuck about any of that. And that's just kind of just what happens as you get older, you know, you become a little more invested in society, right? And you tend to be motivated a little more about how much can you lose versus what you have to gain, right? And for a lot of people in this country, they can't make a distinction between what they'll lose personally, right, versus what they have to lose, like, you know, in a social standing sort of way. So to a lot of people, it's sort of like, you know, to people like Trump, for example, life is a zero-sum game, and you only like, you know, you only win if somebody else loses. They don't understand that everybody can win. You know, this is the thing on the left you hear a lot, you know. They criticize people on the left for this. Oh, everybody gets a participation trophy, blah, 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 right? But in real life, it's like, no, you know, when you're talking about things like, you know, politics, right? When you're talking about things like healthcare or jobs or whatever, there doesn't have to be a loser. You know what I mean? You can set up a policy in such a way that everyone's basic needs are met. Right? You can do it. You know, these are things that can be done. And yeah, okay, some people have to pay, you know, it involves paying taxes, right? And they see that as losing or whatever, you know. So yeah, so when you see things like, okay, well, that means, you know, if black people are allowed to vote or something like that, that means they're winning somehow, and there must be some corresponding way that I'm losing. This is the thought process that's going through their minds, you know. Okay, so, you know, you take BLM, for example. If black people are treated, you know, equally by police, right? If the police are not, like, allowed to just brutalize them and murder them, you know, for fucking fucked up reasons, right? Then what does that mean? That means they're winning something, so what are they going to take away from me for that? You know, does that mean that that means that the cops are going to treat me the same way they treat them? This is what they're seeing. This is like that sort of mindset, that very, very transactional mindset that you get from conservatives, right? I mean, you see Donald Trump do this all the time. You know, he puts Amy Coney Barrett on the Supreme Court and then expects her to fucking rule in his favor. You know, he gets Bill Barr, you know, he makes him his attorney general, and then he expects Bill Barr to, like, arrest people on command and basically do what he fucking says. It's all, like, it's all transactional to him. It's all, you know, and it's like that to basically conservatives in general. You know, it's very sort of, you know, there is no higher ideal that they aspire to. You know, it's all about, what do I get for what I gave you? You know, it's like, you don't pay taxes because it takes care of your society. You pay taxes because you get X, Y, and Z from it. So you have to know how to, like, speak their language when you talk to, you know, when you try to appeal to these people, right? when you try to appeal to them and de-radicalize them, you got to understand how to speak their language. You know, you got to know, like, don't go in there trying to, like, explain to them it's the right thing to do. Explain it in such a way that it's like, well, this is what you get out of it. You know what I mean? So, because that's also another thing that I think a lot of people on the left don't understand. You know, when they argue with conservatives and stuff, right? You know, if you argue with somebody on Reddit or some shit like that, and they talk about things like, what's a popular conservative boogeyman is non-gendered pronouns, right? And they like to pick on shit like that, you know, these stupid fucking culture war shit, right? They like to pick on stuff like that. And, you know, people on the left will argue that and saying, well, because it's respectful and blah, 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 right? Well, you're going to lose that argument because they don't give a shit about respecting other people. You know, you have to frame it in such a way that it benefits them, so that if they do it, it makes it sound like they're the ones who are benefiting, you know? So you got to frame it such in a way it's like, well, you know, you have to frame it like, you know, say you should have the freedom to express how you want to, express your sexuality in this country, right? That's how you got to frame it. You know, like, frame it like you should have the freedom to, you know, do whatever you want with your body. You know, the government shouldn't be allowed to tell me if I'm a man or a woman. There you go. Bam. That's the perfect way to frame trans rights to conservatives, right? Is the government allowed to tell you how you're supposed to dress or what you're supposed to do with your body? Yes or no, right? And I think, you know, this is how you got to do it. You know, if you want these people to be, you know, and it's not even getting them on your side, although that would be nice, but just de-radicalizing them at this point, because I'm not even advocating for trying to, like, convert them to my viewpoint any longer. All I'm trying to do is make them less crazy. You know what I mean? And that involves actually going out and, like, you know, outreaching to them, you know. And it can be, and it doesn't even have to be in a nice way, because, like, it even involves arguing and debating people, and not always, you know, not just kissing their ass or whatever, but, you know, laying it out like it is. I mean, these are people who have been bullshitted for so long that a lot of them can't tell, you know, their sense of reality is really warped. You know what I mean? These people actually thought Donald Trump was going to pull this off, that he was actually going to, you know, litigate his way out of out of a 30 fucking, 36 electoral vote fucking deficit, or however many electoral votes it is, and 7 million fucking popular votes. Like, he was gonna, like, litigate his way out of this. They actually, because they believed him. They actually believed him when he said it was all rigged and he had the evidence and they were gonna release the Kraken and all that shit. Because they don't have any sense of fucking reality left, because their reality is dictated to them by right-wing hate media. You know, how do you deal with that? It's like deprogramming people from a cult. Like, what you said up here earlier, you know, who was it that in the stream even said that it's like a cult now? You know, I don't know. One of you guys said that. One of you guys said in the chat that, like, you know, it's a cult, and it's like, you're right. You're right. It is a cult, and it's sort of the same way that you have to deal with people who were in religious cults. You can't just, you know, expose them. There has to be, like, a period of, like, deprogramming, you know, and that's what we need to do. That's what we need to do, so or else in the next election, you know, fucking this shit's gonna happen all over again. And the next time, whoever they put up next time is actually gonna be more insane, you know, whether it's fucking Tucker Carlson or whether it's fucking, like, you know, Rick Santorum or what that asshole with the punch bowl fucking face, right? Ted Cruz or whoever it is, or even if it's Trump again, and even if Donald Trump runs again, you know, and the next guy that gets into power is going to use this fascist infrastructure, and who knows what's going to fucking happen this time. You know, I said this in the last stream too. You know, you didn't used to have to be afraid that when the guy who won wasn't the guy that you voted for, you didn't used to have to be afraid that that person was going to destroy the country. You know what I mean? So, I don't know. Now you are. Now I am. I'm literally afraid that whoever the next Republican president is going to, like, basically end the fucking country. Because we allowed Donald Trump to get away with so much bullshit. And this time it didn't work, but next time it might. Next time it might. I can guarantee you, whatever next Republican president wins is going to win through an electoral college victory. It will not be through a popular vote. Those days are over, right? I don't think we're going to have a Republican president win the popular vote again, ever. Probably not in my lifetime, right? Unless there's some major fucking political realignments. It's not happening, you know. I mean, just look at how Texas, you know, is starting to turn fucking blue. You know, now we got Georgia turned blue, right? It's only a matter of time, you know, before that shit's over with. So it's like they're going to have to do some other way in order to appeal to people. I don't think they will. I don't think that they're going to try to appeal to people. I think they're going to rather do what they have been doing, which is, you know, basically fucking manipulating the electoral process in order to get elected and stay elected. You know, things like gerrymandering, things like voter suppression, stuff like that. That's just going to become a high art form on the conservative side, on the Republican side. Let's see. Okay, guys, we're getting up to 2 hours here. Anyway, sorry, my friend Raph here, he's in the chat in Shoma. He was going to join us in chat for a bit. Sorry about that. I couldn't really get that to work. We probably should have, like, tried to set that up before we started the stream. That's kind of my fault, so I apologize for that. Anyway, man, we had kind of a heated stream this time. This stream was just like 2 hours of me just fucking bitching and moaning. Wow. I don't know. I kind of gave myself a little bit of a headache here. Shit, I need to calm down. So let's look at where we're at here with the piece. I think it's looking okay. You know, it's got, let me move this. Kind of getting like this sort of weird, I don't know, evil sort of mesh of monstrous stuff. But I think it's turning out pretty good. I think we need to add more, like, you know, eyes and mouths and teeth in it and that kind of thing. We'll probably continue on with this for the next couple streams until my Photoshop shows up in the mail. I bought Photoshop finally, and I'm going to install it on this computer, and then we can actually do some, like, streams of that stuff. But I think I need to end this. My back hurts, and plus I have to go shopping, so thank you guys all so much. Thank you so very much for putting up with me and putting up with all of my technical problems and actually coming and listening to me rant and rave for 2 hours here. So let me just show you all my stuff before I get going. Let's see. You know, let me go here. Let me go to my Etsy store. Okay. So, if you like what I do, and you want to, wait, what the hell is that? There we go. If you like what I do and you want to support the channel, I have an Etsy shop. Wrong one, damn it. I will remember that. This is my Etsy shop. I sell prints and things, you know, and other stuff. This is Hawanja's House of Weirdness at sd.com shop/Hawanja, and I'll put links to all this stuff down in the bottom if you want to see it. And if you like my content and you want to support me, please consider buying something. These are different prints that I make. This one is a Lovecraft character. You know, these are all handmade. Well, not handmade, but They're prints that I stain by hand. This one's the Kraken, so if you want to release your own Kraken, and these are 11 by 17 hand coffee stained prints that are, each one comes out a little unique. So anyway, so if you want to support me, please consider buying something. And then I also have a DeviantArt site if you want to see more of my artwork. I put a lot of comics on here, that kind of thing. This will also have like full color sort of, pieces. Here's a full color piece that I did recently. Open up. Open, you piece of shit. Why is that not opening? What the hell? Anyway, here we go. Here's a piece that I did, not that long ago. So if you want to see more of that, check me out on DeviantArt. Here's my webcomic. It is hawanja.com. Fun for the whole stupid family. I have ninjas and stuff. That's what my webcomic's about. People getting punched in the face and, etc., etc. Guys getting cut in half and then monsters. And I like how I hit random and it just went back to the exact same one. I guess random just isn't working here. Right. Anyway, it has monsters and, all of that kind of thing. So please check me out there. And then I also have another YouTube channel, UCD Videos. So if you want to see me do non-political content, you want to see me talk about toys and video games and movies and that kind of thing, check me out on UCD Videos on YouTube. So thank you all so much. Thank you, Anna Chavez. Thank you, Dynacat Loves Me. Great to see you again. Onward to Dystopia. You're awesome. Thank you so much. And Shoma, thank you again. Next time we'll have you on. We'll set it up ahead of time so that we can actually hear each other. And you guys are the best. I will most likely do another stream in the middle of the week. And if not, it'll be on Saturday.